Hello, everybody. Welcome to this podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Please, everybody, welcome Heythem. So, Heythem is a very special guest. He has done a lot of impressive things in the past. And so, Heythem, how about you introduce yourself to the audience real quick?
Hello, everybody. As Tim said, I'm Heythem. Started on Twitter. Started writing on Twitter at the beginning of this year. Started on writing on Threads also beginning of this year, and since then, just trying to make this personal branding online business work. And before that, I studied psychology. I have my degree in psychology. Was traveling for a while. Was a bit lost, and then started pursuing this. Online thing to like try to ghostwrite, try to mentor people, try to like sell courses and stuff like that. And it's been working well. So now I'm in a position where I can freely move around and freely without issues. And that's basically what my goal was at the beginning. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, we talked about it before this call. You're
Yeah.
going to Ethiopia next, which is kind of great. So we're both from Germany. Just a little bit of context. We're both from Germany. So before this call, we talked on German. So it's super weird to talk on English now, but we're gonna make the best out of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, you told us you started your business or writing on Threads and Twitter at the beginning of this year. How
Mhm.
about you take us through the journey of how that happened, what inspired you to do this, and yeah, just tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so I finished my psychology degree in January 2023. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, let's just travel around. So I traveled through Ethiopia and like East Africa for like a half a year, came back and was a bit lost on what to do. And then I just basically, I wanted to work online because I was like, okay, it's nice to travel around and make money. And I wanted to find a way to do that. So basically, my motivation was from the beginning on freedom. I wanted to have freedom where to move. And I had this dream of like, um, living anywhere I want and working online. So then I started Googling stuff and I started like blogging. So I built my own website, started blogging. At that point I was like blogging about jiu-jitsu and like, I don't know, tea, protein powders, something like that. Like I was all over the place and I was trying to um satisfy the Google algorithm, but after like I don't know, 6 months, 8 months. Like I started in June 2023 until January 2024. I was just like trying to do this and it was not working. Didn't make any money. Like and I was working every day on this. Like I really burnt out doing it and with not much success. And then, um, I started like Googling again and was like, okay, what can I do now? And then, all these people like Dan Coe came up and Dakota Robertson. They're like, all this
Classic.
like 10K a month, the Ghostwriter, blah blah blah, and go on Twitter. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So I went on Twitter, and at the same time, people told me about Threads, and I was like, okay, let's start an account on Twitter and Threads. At the beginning, I focused on Twitter because it was much more personal, much more people to grow, much more people to connect with and stuff. And then at the side, I was just cross posting on Threads. And then I decided to go into ghostwriting because I was like, okay, I like psychology, I like to write, so why not make a business around that and ghostwrite for psychologists and coaches? So um, I then found a mentor, and he really helped me grow, really helped me like find my offer and everything, and and then helped me to know how to get clients and stuff. And then afterwards, it kind of went into client work like really quickly. Like by March, I was occupied the whole day with client work, and then April, May, and I was ghostwriting like for a couple of months. Afterwards, people started to reach out to me and asking me how I was able to ghostwrite for people and like how I made this work. So I started mentoring people on how to ghostwrite, and then at the same time, my Threads account was taking off. So my Threads account, I was like one post after the other was going viral for myself, and then people started reaching out to me on how to grow on Threads. And then I did another offer where um, I started to teach people how to grow on Threads. made a course around that, and also started mentoring people on how to write, how to do personal branding and stuff like that. So my offers changed throughout the months, but yeah, I think my initial motivation was just it was less the money; it was more like the freedom, and I feel like uh, this at least I got, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's well. It doesn't matter if the offers change as long as you still
Yeah,
have the freedom, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, that's very impressive, and you've made some very, very quick progress compared to most people. So I want to ask you, what are like the biggest mistakes that people make when they're trying to build their business online, when they're trying to grow an audience on Twitter and Threads? What advice would you give to those people?
I mean, couple of things. I think on a mental note, which I think I
Yeah,
would
let's
have
talk about that.
on a mental note, it should be like you have to have more patience. You know, there's always like these things with in 3 months, 10K a month. I mean, I did it myself, you know, and like this the selling point of like do it quickly, but I wanted to do it so quickly that it put so much pressure on me, and there was a point where I almost like burned out because I was like, this is too much. Like and I was like, why do I want to think so quickly? Like, chill, build a sustainable brand, learn, rinse and repeat. You know, this kind of stuff is really important. And it's less about making like 10K within a year. It's more about how can I build a sustainable business. And also, sustainable business is surrounded around your interests. And not every interest makes money quick. You know,
Mm,
because if you are self-improvement coach, for example, you have to have even more patience. So I think that there's certain niches. Of course, I believe that you should. I mean, you should write about the stuff you want to write about, but have patience with that because building sustainable brand is takes more longer than just like a get rich quick
mm,
scheme. You know, because I can, you know, everybody can teach you how to get 3 months to 10K. It might work, but it might not work for the things you actually want to might not work for the service you actually want to provide, you know? Um,
mm.
so I I really believe in like patience, open mindedness to mistakes, you know. Not every, like real like quickly admitting that you're not a good writer, and trying then to
Yeah.
like learn every day from other people and do a lot of research and also invest, you know. Like for me, a lot of people um I mean, I get it. Some people don't have the resources to invest, but for me, what really helped was to invest in a mentor because before that, I was 8 months without making money, um, just based on a course I bought. But in hindsight, it would have been much better to invest in a good mentor than in a course, you know.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, whatever you
Yeah.
do, build a business surrounding your interests because that's the only way you're not going to burn out, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. I feel like with advice like this, a lot of people just give tactical advice, like here's how you write your hooks, here's how you engage on Twitter to grow and blah. I feel like it's the mindset stuff is so much more important when it
Yeah,
comes to building a business. Not only like stuff like imposter syndrome, getting rid of that, and but also just enjoying the process. That's something I've been obsessed with these past few months, because basically my entire, let's say, career, it's like a very short career. Um, I've just been whipping myself to do things like I gotta make money quick. I gotta prove these people wrong. But
yeah,
throughout the past couple of months, I've realized that that's kind of weak, and it wasn't really leading to any happiness. It might have led to money in the short run, but not really to happiness and to sustainability. And what ended up happening is I made a lot of money very quickly, got complacent, and then I lost all the progress basically. When I focus more on enjoying the journey, though, the progress was a little bit slower, but it was so much more sustainable, and I could actually hold on to the money that I made. So that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Let's talk about that more. Like, what piece of advice would you give to someone who's currently in a position where they don't really like their business? They might make good money. Maybe they're like a copywriter or something, but in reality, they want to talk about fucking yeah, self improvement or something like that. Would you say give up all the progress that you've made in that one domain, go in all in into the other, or would you say just take it slowly, maybe make some money on the side, and then slowly transition towards what you're genuinely interested in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for everybody it's going to be different, but I think from what you now said, I think that you felt a lot of pressure. Like the approach you took was like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and I did the same. I was like a lot of pressure on myself onto like to make this ghostwriting thing work, but it might not be the thing I want to stay with, you know. And the truth is, with online business, it's not like you're never gonna finish with what you started. You know, like you're gonna start with a certain offer, but then you evolve, and your business is gonna evolve, and it's completely normal. Like
Mm,
the more time passes, the more you're gonna learn, the more things you want to do, and the more different you're gonna learn more about yourself and what you want to do. You know, so I think that if you want to pivot, and if you're not satisfied with what you're doing right now, it's the same with the 9 to 5. It's like, okay, do something out of the 9 to 5, where you look for other jobs or other opportunities and volunteer here, volunteer there until you can sustain yourself to switch over. The same with
mm,
your business. If you have a business that doesn't work, like it doesn't work for you, but you're making some money, so instead of having 2 or 3 clients, you only have one then, and then afterwards, and then you scale back on the money, have get less money, but then have more free time to think about what you want to build on the side. So you build something on the side, and then build up until you can fully let go of your copywriting business in that, for that example. But I see more and more people, and I think that's a good idea. They don't leave the 9 to 5 while building their Threads or X
mm,
account or like the online brand. It's like they're like, okay, I'm I'm working 20 to 30 hours a week. For somebody being employed, but this gives me so much uh, more freedom and less pressure to pursue this business because I can build this slowly, and until I'm ready to give up the 9 to 5, I still have the security of the 9 to 5, because with an online business you often don't have the security, and that there's anxiety involved which you don't really have with 9 to 5. You know,
mm,
everybody's looks up like every we have this like idea that it's perfect, and you know Dakota Robertson, Dan Cole, and like all these people are living in heaven and bliss, but they have that the anxiety you feel when having your own business is different, you know. And I think you have to be aware of that. So I think if you have the security of the 9 to 5, or like something which giving you the resources right now, hold on to that until you have something tangible to switch to, you know.
mm. And yeah, I mean, business is like a long-term game. It takes years, decades to build something great.
Yeah.
Forcing yourself to get rich quick or build something epic very quickly is just not a smart way. And taking some pressure off of yourself, and maybe having like I don't want to say plan B, but like a backbone that, like, in case everything goes wrong, you can fall back on, is a very smart thing if you want to build a great business long term, in my opinion. That's why I still go to university, for example, even though I wouldn't need to. But I'm actually switching majors next year. I'm switching to psychology. Actually,
Really?
yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool,
Currently,
man.
I'm currently studying biomedical chemistry. Not for
Mm,
me, so I'm switching to psychology. Hopefully, if that works. So we're gonna talk about that later.
that's
For now,
cool.
let's actually one more question about that. How do you ensure that you balance out enjoying the journey with also, you know, hmm, let me let me think how I'll phrase this. Um, so with me, for example, sometimes when I just find myself enjoying the journey, I find, like, quote unquote, I'm just gonna enjoy everything that I do. I find myself avoiding the things that might move the needle. For example, I freaking hate doing outreach and stuff, but it's important if I want to grow my business. How do you make that more enjoyable, or how in general, how do you make your business more enjoyable so it's more sustainable for you?
Um, there's always some things which are not going to be enjoyable. You know, there are always some things in business which you like to do, and some things in business you don't like to do. And sometimes the things you don't like to do are important right now. So I think it's rather you have to build the ability on knowing what is important right now. Like what do I have to do right now? If it's outreach messages, if it's like sending an email out, if it's like responding to comments, I mean, build like a long form thread or something. You have, and I think over time you recognize more and more what is important, what do I have to focus on right now, and um, a business isn't always enjoyable. You know, sometimes you have to grind through it, and sometimes you have to do things which you don't
Mm,
prefer, you don't like doing. Um, so that's also like even if it's all built around your interests, you know, even if the business built around your interests, there are always going to be some things that are enjoyable. So I think that um, there's a lot about it is like acceptance. It's like this is what I need to
mm.
do now, and um, I am grateful that I get to do them, and this is part of it, and this is this is my path. I think that thinking about it about it in a sense of is this enjoyable or not doesn't serve us well. It's like I think it's more about like um what is important right now, you know?
Okay, it makes total sense. I think it's important to have realistic expectations. You're not gonna enjoy. I always say to myself, I'm not gonna enjoy most of what I do, but if I can really enjoy some of what I do, that's a win to me. That's better than not
Yeah.
enjoying anything. Like for example, if I'm with the office job I had, I didn't enjoy a second of it. And with my business, there's a lot of moments where I'm thinking like, why the fuck do I need to do this? But then there's some moments where I'm like, fuck yeah, this is really what I want to do. And if I can increase the number of those moments and decrease the number of the other moments, I think I'm winning. But yeah, okay, let's go back to some of the more tactical parts because I know people are interested in that. I know we talked about, mindset
Mm.
is more important, but tactics are also pretty important to know about. So you just launched your course on growing on threads. So there's two things I want to go into there. First off, how do you grow on threads? What's the most effective way to grow on there? And basically give us a summary of the course, if you don't mind. And then how did the course launch go? What was your strategy behind that? I think that's going to be really useful to a lot of people listening to this. But before we do that, let's talk about how do you grow on threads?
Yeah, Threads is a new platform. So it's much easier to grow on Threads than on Twitter right now. And Threads the algorithm of Threads is a bit weird because um how to grow on Threads is not as straightforward as like good writing goes. It's I think that Threads you need to be more bit more personal, like a bit more like the hooks are even more important there. You know, you can have a really good hook, but then another good body, and it's still going to perform well. And I think talking about yourself, about transformations really work. Like if you have a transformational story, something like inspiring about like I don't know, like weight loss or depression and not depressed anymore and stuff like that. Credibility is amazing on Threads. Like for people who studied something, you know, psychologists, doctors, business owners,
Mm,
people who have made a lot of money. Like anything that makes you credible really works on Threads. Like I see it over and over again that people go viral with the long form threads without an audience just because they say in the first line like I'm a psychologist, you know. So
mm,
um, that really works. And controversy, you know, I think that Twitter is a more of a right wing platform, and left
mm.
Threads is like more of a left wing platform.
Yeah,
So
all the people from once Elon bought the platform, all the left-leaning people just went to Threads. I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and I enjoy both dynamics, but Threads is much more sensitive. So like
Mm,
when you're on Threads, um, people um, when the controversy takes off, you know, if you start your sentence with like I had like one thread where I said I study psychology, and here X controversial things I believe about the 21st century, and I don't know, got like 10k likes or something because it's like there was so much hate in the comments. Like there was so much going on in the
Okay.
comments, just because like there was so much fuel for discussion, and on threads they love to discuss. So I think that's controversy, credibility is very authority, like showing authority. But in that sense, it's kind of similar than on Twitter because it's also about storytelling.
Mm,
Storytelling skills are very important. So the skill you need on Twitter with writing is the same skill on Threads, but Threads is easier to grow right now. Of course, I have an engagement group where we repost each other's content. This is really important, and asking people like comment on each other's stuff, and I mean it's basically the same rules. Um, I didn't need to change much when I often cross post on Twitter and Threads, so I think how to grow not much different. Um, it's just it's the same all like how to hook somebody.
mm. Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's the audiences are a little bit different. I read this story from who was it from? Glenn Wright, I think that's his name. He posted something about Elon on Threads. Like Elon, he launched all these satellites into space. He built rockets and stuff. He's so great, and that really took off. Got like 30K views, and people really hated on him for that. And he had like
Yeah.
400 followers only. So yeah, and if you'd have posted the same thing on Twitter, people would love you for it. Probably wouldn't go viral, but um, it's definitely interesting to keep in mind. But so you just mainly cross post on Twitter and Threads, looks like.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
Okay.
focusing more on threads at the moment. I'm cross-posting, and that's been working really well. But yeah, there are some posts which do really well on threads and don't perform at all on Twitter. It's just a
Mm,
different platform, but it's also like there's more reach on threads, and
yeah.
smaller accounts on threads can also grow really quickly. There are people like who grew like 4,000 followers within like 30 days.
Yeah. Okay.
All my clients actually did that. It's crazy. Like there are multiple of my clients, they just grew so quickly just because they have so much credibility, and I just showed them how to use it. So it was actually very easy.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense. Yeah, I feel like Twitter is pretty slow at the moment, so I might dip my
Yeah.
toes into that a little bit more. Been trying on LinkedIn, trying my best
But
on
it's
LinkedIn.
still very valuable. That's what I like. When I talk about Twitter like that, Twitter is really valuable because on Threads, you the follower to client ratio is much lower. There on Twitter, there's so many people who are ready to invest, uh, ready to make business. But like on Threads, they're much more casual. Like they're more casual, just reading the app and stuff, not really into this business stuff. So the Twitter is very good for like it's money Twitter. It's good for that. It's
Mm,
just the reach is down, and I think Threads is slowly catching up. So I think when people start with Threads, it's like more like a long term investment in the platform.
right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess it levels out because when traffic is higher on Threads, then there's even though there's less customers in terms of ratio,
mm.
just it levels out because of the reach. But yeah, I might have to go into that a lot more. And it's so easy to cross post as well. Just use Hype Fury, cross post to Threads and
Exactly. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
exactly.
Okay, easy peasy. Okay, cool. Glad we talked about that. But I'm very interested in how your course launch went because I'm building a course myself. It's proven to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, but that's always how it goes in business. So first off, do you have some advice for anyone who's building a course at the moment? And then let's dig into how you launch the course.
Yeah, I think launch a course after you have mentoring clients. First of all, I think
Mm,
people want to build a course right away, but um, you don't know what people like, and also you don't have any proof. So like without that, it's really hard to sell a course. So I waited until I have like a lot of case studies, a lot of testimonials to launch the course, because then I can actually prove that my methods are working. And then you have to also find find actually the course content, because it has to be like specific to something. Like it has to be something which you did yourself, and something which you can help the people most with, which hasn't been taught like that before. And it's sometimes not easy to find, so I think, of course, a course works if you have a larger audience. If you have a smaller audience, then it's, you can sell a course, and then you might get 10, like 5 to 10 sales, but how much money are you going to make from that? You're going to make like a couple of hundred, or like 1,000, or
Mm.
even like 2,000, but not going to, a course takes a lot of time and effort, and like copywriting and stuff like that. So I think that, before you build one, invest in like a service, build a business around a service, a high ticket service, and then you can build like a lower ticket course. In terms of how I did it, so because I was mentoring people how to grow on Threads and how to write and stuff, and what works on Threads and everything, I structured my course around that, because thought like that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people have been asking me how to do that, and I've been mentoring people how to do that. So, um, I also then taught in my course how I did it, because there are different ways of going on Threads. There are a lot of people who are spamming people with short form one-liners and short form posts. They're great for, you get followers of them, and you might, you might get a lot of followers with them, but they're not sustainable. It's not a personal brand. You're not going to build a personal brand with
Mm.
one-liners, with short
Yep.
form. So in my course, I focus much more on long form threads, how to actually write long form threads on the platform, because not only are they going to get a lot of followers, a lot of views, they're also going to convert into email subscribers, into followers, and into followers who are very engaged with your brand, because they spend more time with your content. Like obviously, like when you have more, they spend more time with you, so they're going to be more likely to follow you, like more closely, So I built my course around how to, write long form threads, gave examples of long form threads, gave hook examples, also like had some, and then some, the basics, how to build a profile. It's
Mm.
similar on threads and on Twitter, same kind of dynamics. How to write is similar, works for threads and Twitter the same. I have this too. I also have a short form guide, like how to write short forms. Um, and I there focus more on like transformational posts. X years ago I was there, now I'm here. These
Mm.
kind of posts do so well on Threads, so I emphasize them. But yeah, mainly it's about how to write hooks, and how to write long form threads that actually convert into, um, fans and customers. So
Mm. Makes sense. Okay, is the course still available, or I think you closed the spots, right?
no, it's still available, but I'm not promoting it anymore. I'm it's my website for people who want to get it. Um,
Okay,
but actively
everyone,
promoting
check out Hayden's course. Everyone who's watching needs to check out the course now if they want to grow on Threads. Okay,
it.
glad we got to talk about that. That was actually very insightful for me building a course myself.
Yeah.
Um, I want to circle back to your content, or the content you post on Twitter and Threads. Just real quick, can you walk us through your content strategy at the moment? Is there anything new that you're testing out, or is it, how do you think about your content?
Yeah, so my content is basically, it's always been a mix of psychology, spirituality, and like personal branding, Um, and I enjoy writing about everything. So I kind of have a hard time choosing between one. And
Same. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, no, let's just go with what I feel, because the spiritual content is just for me, basically. It doesn't really get
Mm.
much, doesn't, it's not where the money comes from necessarily yet. Um, but it builds my brand, and it builds like I can like show my unique thoughts in there much more. Um, but my content strategy is basically, um, I try to make like 3 to 4 long forms a week, and like 7 to 10 short forms a week. Um, and the long forms, the recent weeks were all about personal branding, like hook creation, going on threads, how to write, and stuff like that. And I've noticed that a lot of people on threads are even more beginners than on Twitter. Like on threads,
Okay.
you have to like sometimes some people didn't know what a long form thread is. They didn't know how to do it on the comments. They were asking me about this,
Oh.
so I wanted to focus on that too, and just giving advice on how to grow on a platform. And that has been building my email list. This has been driving sales into my course, getting me mentoring clients, um, and so yeah, I'm kind of dissecting my course a bit, dissecting my emails, and just um, making long form all of them. And my psychology spiritual content kind of comes from the books I'm reading. There's
Mm.
always a book I'm reading, and then I'm like, and it's so fun because I'm actually then writing about the stuff I'm really like. So that's it's usually just a mix of both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked about this with Benjamin Chan recently. So he basically has two types of stories that he posts. For him, it's a little bit different, but it is kind of similar. Where he posts his personal stories, which are just for world building and like, here's me, like here's how you can relate to me, like basically building the brand itself. Then he has the other types of stories, which are, the client attracting stories, he called them, where he basically talks about the pain points. And this is, you appear to do something similar, where you have like your genuine interests, which is spirituality, psychology, and so on, where you build the world, your own world, basically. And then you have your, the threads about how to grow on threads, how to grow on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And those are the client attracting ones. Okay, interesting.
Yep.
What book are you currently reading on spirituality, psychology?
That's a good. I have it next to me. Wait, I'm gonna put it in the camera. It's called Radical Acceptance by
Mm,
Tara Brach, and it's amazing. It's an amazing book. I'm halfway through. It's helped me a lot with my business actually. Because I we talked about pressure, we talked about anxiety, we talked about not being patient, and I over the last few months, I put a lot of pressure on myself when I started not to enjoy what I was doing. I started to not do the things I used to do before my business, and I started to kind of resent my business. And that wasn't the point because the point was freedom. You know,
mm,
not only freedom of money and freedom of my location, but also freedom of mind. Like not to worry about stuff that much anymore. And that went completely sideways. So I
mm,
needed to do a change, and then I was like, okay, I need to go back to the roots, which is like meditation, nature walks, reading books. So I've been doing this over a couple the last 3 months, and it's been amazing because I realized that my business is not important. Like it's at the end we're trying to build this business thing and we're trying to make it work. It's beautiful, like it's very like honorable and like I'll yeah, support everybody who's doing their business, but we have to realize that at the end our business doesn't matter. What matters
mm.
is being present with life, and what matters is being accepting with whatever comes into your life. And I think that also with business, it's like sometimes things happen which are out of our control, and we need to accept this is happening. Um, a client is not satisfied, a post flops, a launch flops. Um, business is just always every day something happens, and we need to accept and realize that that we are exactly where we need to be.
Mm.
And since I remind myself of this every day, I have much less pressure on me and on my business. It's the business is something I do. It's not me. So this book just serves as a reminder right now for me just to accept accept whatever happens.
Yeah, that one sentence hit hard. Like, what would you say? Like, My business is not me. It's something I do, bro. That kind of I can definitely relate to that. Just putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So let me ask you, what practices have been helpful to you to kind of detach and reconnect with life? This is something that, I view this as my biggest strength and biggest weakness. I'm very, very obsessive when it comes to my business. I basically think about it all day, which makes me very good in business. Like the progress I've been making in terms of my skills has been very rapid. But at the same time, sometimes it's like, can you, like, I tell my own mind, can you just shut up? Like, can we just enjoy this right now? So what practices have been helpful to you there?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I can definitely relate. I obsessed. Like I couldn't relax. It was all about this and
Mm,
a lot of anxiety, and I didn't like that. And I was like, what's the point then to having a business? So there are a couple of things I do. Um, I go on like daily walks, so like 1 to 1.5 hours, and sometimes it's still, sometimes it's with music, sometimes with a podcast, sometimes I call a friend, but it's never like business related. Because even when I was listening to Dan Coe, he's like, yeah, I'm going on walks, but then like it's basically business related. It's like thinking or something. I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with my business. I want to have anything when I'm out. I want to just relax and do something else. Um, I read a lot more books. I mean, and also try to do it for engagement, for enjoyment, not for like having
mm,
content. Um, I have an app blocker now, which
mm,
is really good because now when I'm out, I leave my computer at home and on my phone, I block all the apps which are business related. My emails, my threads, my Twitter, my Telegram. So that has been really helpful. And also just socializing more. I just meeting friends, going out, allowing myself not to work for like a day or like half a day, taking the morning off, taking the evening off, um, and reminding myself my business is not important.
mm.
It really helps for me. You know.
Yeah, it's only one part of life. I think we often forget that. Especially the people in this audience probably are going to be very driven and ambitious. They want to make the most out of their business and their life. But yeah, sometimes we forget that life is not business. Life is just so much more.
For
So yeah,
sure.
thank you for that. That's definitely also something I've been working on, and I think a lot of the people here can resonate with what you've just said. Um, One last question, or maybe second to last question. I'm 20 years old. I'm turning 21 in 3 months or 4 months or something. You have, I've read in your newsletter, you have some really good advice for people in their 20s. So can you just recap about what advice you would give to a 20-year-old?
Yeah. Um, a lot because when I was 20, like I'm not 26. When I was 20, I was very anxious. Like I was worrying about the future a lot, and I just want to tell him like it's okay, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I think to tell yourself it's gonna be okay in your 20s is really important because in the 20s we have so much ambition. We want to change. We strive for something, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But we need to really um, we enjoy as well and just accept what's happening and to have to believe that everything's going to be okay, that
Mm,
we're cared for. But also I think in the 20s, like, yeah, what I always say is like, be active physically, do something physically,
mm,
something, whether it's walking, running, or like any martial art or whatever you want to do, whatever you enjoy. um, I think communication is very, very important. Try to put yourself in situations where you have to communicate clearly. Talk a lot with people. seek out people, seek out a mentor, just talk a lot with people and try to
Mm,
express yourself clearly, you know. Obviously reading a lot of books, um, and trying to go on your own journey, because before that, like when like 18, 19, you're still with your parents, still like at home, still on their own rules. But in your 20s, it's about finding your own self, So that means to travel, that means to build your own business, that means to take some risks, like taking risks, because I think the 20s are the best time to take risks, because afterwards it's just gonna get harder and harder, more responsibilities, um, more stuff going on in your life. So now it's about switching majors, going to Thailand. These things are good because it's like you're taking risks, you're going for what, like you're trying out different things, and I think that playing it safe in your 20s is very dangerous, because you can,
mm,
it's because I see many people when I was 20, many people went into the job market and I didn't, and now they're still in the same job and they're making good money, but they're not happy, and they
mm,
just played it safe for like the last 6 years, and now they're saying I'm not happy, and I understand why. It's because you're in the same place, same job, same thing every day, and this
yeah,
is not meant for the 20s. The 20s are meant for adventure and um, experiencing pain, experiencing, what it feels like to fail, and that's what's about. It's less about being successful; it's more about taking the risks.
mm, risk. Yeah, definitely like that. That's a very cool answer. Looking
Yeah,
back at when I've made the most progress in my life, it was always when I was talking to more people. For example, last year went interrailing in like Spain, Portugal, France, and I was talking to like 5 new people every single day, and I learned so much in that 1 month of traveling. Like it basically a year's worth of progress in that one single month. Even though I wasn't like exercising consistently, even though I wasn't building my business or anything, I still learned so much about life. So that's also something I wanted to highlight. Okay, cool. Taking risks, talking to more people,
yeah,
enjoying the journey, and
mm.
being physically active. That's what it boils down to.
Yes, perfect
Okay,
summary.
cool. Yeah, to wrap this up, let me ask you one more question. What are your plans for your future? You've told me you're going to Ethiopia soon. And, you know, what do you want to put people onto? Is there anything that new that you're doing in your business that you maybe want to talk about? Or just, yeah, what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, so I'm obviously trying to regulate my business. I'm now mentoring, and I think I'm going to keep that going. The mentoring is really fun. I now want to talk more about spirituality and psychology more. I think I haven't done it. I mean, I neglected it a bit for the past month, which is totally fine. It's just about the right time and point of time.
Mm,
Now I was promoting my business, my course, and my mentoring, and now it's time to um, go back to talk about these things. But I also plan on doing something offline. So I realized that online is cool and independency is cool, but I also enjoy doing things offline. So I actually plan on doing a workshop in Ethiopia. Um, like there are some meditation centers, yoga retreats and stuff. So I'm gonna go there and like pitch them, pitch them like doing workshops over there. And
nice.
because I realized that now I wanna build something. I wanna build a base, and I also wanna build the skill of doing workshops offline, because I think offline is where I feel the most happiness. So
Mm,
I think the online thing is I'm still gonna keep it going, but offline is also really important. I think that we are neglecting that more and more, and I don't want to neglect that, because that's what I enjoy. So I think for the future, more offline, more psychology, spiritual content, um,
mm,
and then see where it's going.
nice.
Yeah,
Love it, man. Um, yeah, I always tell my clients we have to meet up in person eventually because it's just so much more connection in person.
For
But yeah,
sure, yeah, for
yeah, I
sure,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, I think that's gonna be a wrap. Thank you for being on, Haytham. It was very fun, and yeah, thanks for watching,
Awesome, Tim.
everybody.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you so much for having me, huh? Good luck with everything.
Cool, man.